Good morning. Welcome, families and friends, and all my listeners out there. I'm your host, Clayton Arline, and we have a special guest, Sheila. We're going to be talking about some things that is so many people feel, but rarely they talk out loud about it. Loneliness and depression during these holidays. The season is supposed to be joyful, warm, and full of celebration. But for so many, it's a time for emotional feeling heavier, memorial feel sharper, and the silent feel louder. If that's you, I want you to know right now that you are not alone and you are not forgotten. Today, we're going to talk about why the holiday can be so emotional challenging, how to navigate those feelings with compassion and faith, and how to find peace within yourself and even in the midst of difficult time. Today, I have my longtime military friend and special guest, Sheila, with me for discussions on the topic. And one of the segments is that why are the holidays feel very heavy, Sheila?
Clayton, let me ask you something. Why do the holidays trigger loneliness or depression for so many people? What do you think about that?
Well, I think, here are some things important, but being alone and feeling lonely are not the same thing. Being alone is a physical state, and loneliness is emotional. You can be surrounded by people and still feel unseen. And we can be physical by yourself, yet feel deeply connected to God and grounded in peace. So today, we're going to talk about how to nurture those connections, not just company. And Sheila,
Yeah, I agree. You can loneliness is emotional, and you could be in a room full of people and still feel lonely and feel like you're invisible.
Mhm.
Um it's it's about connection, it's about presence. Being alone is physical.
Okay.
So, when you're alone, you're physical, but loneliness, what people experience during the holidays, it's an emotional feeling. Let me ask you something. How can faith help someone who feels emotionally low during the holidays?
How can faith? Well, faith gives you permission to be honest with yourself. Faith, it means trusting in God, and faith means believing in a higher power. And when I say you got to be get permission to be honest, God never asks us to fake strength. Never. God gives you power and strength to do the things that you're supposed to be doing. Let's meet us in a rare place, quiet tears and heavy, so we can share these ideals in the morning, the moment when we don't know what to pray. Faith does erase pain, but it
Mhm.
carry you through it. And let me ask you this, Sheila. What are some of the practice steps someone can take when loneliness hit harder?
Well, I've been through it, and I call someone that I trust in, whether it's a good friend or a family member. Sometimes I have to take a break from what I'm doing or focusing on to get my mind clear. I'll
Mhm.
go outside and get some fresh air, kind of breathe and relax. Sometimes just praying, you know, um, helps me get through loneliness. But I do also, on the other side, think of the things that I'm grateful for,
Right, right.
to get out of that feeling, and during this time, I like to volunteer to help others, surround myself being around others because when you give to others, it helps you feel good too. It's a shifts your emotions, to feeling good about yourself. So that's some of the things that I do when I get lonely. Around this time, it can get hard for me, but you just got to keep moving.
There's some things, like you say, you start small and don't try to grasp it too much at one time, or and when you try to overcome some of these barriers, you say call someone you can trust. Who
Hmm.
can you trust?
God.
Thank you. Thank you. He's our only hope and He's our only heaven. And when you say what does writing things down, writing things you are grateful for, just like you say, thank God for the thing that you have and not the thing that you don't have.
Right. I look at the positive side of it. I started journaling, and I found that to really help me, during the holidays and times, pictures showing, I use the journal thing on my phone, and I write little things about the pictures and, the good times and things like that. To change my mood and stuff. It's a lot of things you can do, go to different places, visit friends. But I call some, my sister, she's very uplifting. You want to be around people that are uplifting too,
Right.
You don't want to be around misery loves company. So it's a
You know,
mindset.
it is the thing. Your mind can control you by the way you think.
Hmm.
Let me share something with the audience out there. For example, my mother. My mother was everything to me. And that's a woman that I thank God for her, and I thank God for her being the mother to raise 12 kids. And during a certain time this year, like right now, I feel lonely. And I feel that if it wasn't for God and my mother, where would I be? And so these times I think about the things that my mother have done for me, how she protected me, how I went into service, how I almost drowned it twice in front of. I've been in multiple car wrecks, and it's all because my mother protected me. So those memories are going to flash back, especially for me. If people know my past, then you got to say, look, I got to thank God for my mother because I was a troubled kid. And that's all I think of memories. And I went to the graveyard yesterday just to honor my mother. And these are times that you should honor your mother. And don't forget about your parents once they're dead. Keep honoring them because your day going to come. So
Right.
yesterday was a very emotional day for me. And I just thank God. I thank God I had a good mother like that to raise 13. So sometimes you got to go and be to a little quiet place and think about the good times and the bad times.
I agree. And I read your book, Saved by Many Angels, and you tell your story in there how much she had grounded you, and you had angels save your life. So you have a lot to be grateful for. It's an inspiration reading your book on where you came from and where you are now.
Mhm.
So those things like that um kind of help you get through things, because you may think you have it bad, but somebody else may have it worse.
That's true.
Hmm.
That's why I thank God for every morning I wake up before I go to bed at night. If anybody should be an advocate of God, it should be me because I don't know nobody that escaped death more than me. And I mean, we're talking about a troubled kid. So it's not how you start in life, it's how you finish. And I
Exactly.
believe that God is giving me a purpose and to be able to communicate with you and be able to share ideals because these the time people need to hear this kind of stuff.
Right. And you need to surround yourself from people who can support you and hear you out. Sometimes just being there to listen is what people need around the holiday times.
Encouragement.
Hmm. Right.
And so, my question to you, and at this time, and I just want you to talk to me about just trusting. How can someone create a new tradition with an old one?
Well,
I mean, that keep
sometimes you can't stay in that space.
Mhm.
It's hard, but you got to get out this space. I'm giving myself permission to rewrite my script. I
Okay.
gotta, be positive for my family, for my children. Um, and I'm not going to stay in that space. I, create a new tradition. I may, cook a new dish or something and share it with the family. Say, hey, try this. And traveling is good too. If you got a bucket list or something, say, hey, you've been wanting to go somewhere and you never go to a different place.
Right.
It refreshes yourself. So, new rituals you can start, and you can make that space for healing.
Mhm.
So some traditions aren't meant to trap you. Um, they're meant to serve you.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that because when I look at why did things happen to me, they happen for a reason. But sometimes things happen for a good reason.
Hmm.
Uh, but again, you like to say, give you permission to rewrite scripts in your life, something that in the
Right.
past memory,
Right.
and they will help you to develop and overcome some of those obstacles that you're dealing with during this holiday season.
And you've done a lot. You're an author. You wrote your books, so you wrote your life story in those books, and that was kind of like a healing
Yeah.
process. When you're writing a book or journaling, because you're getting all that, you're creating space in yourself. You're getting all of it out,
Yeah,
and
and
that's making room for something else. That's making room for new scripts.
that's true. And I believe life has a beginning and life has an ending, just like it has a start and a finish. I believe that in my own world, that God have protected me all through the days of my life. And I say to myself, man, why are you so lucky? It is not that I'm lucky. That means I'm blessed.
Exactly.
That's the way I perceive it.
Yes, you are. What would you say to someone who feels guilty of not being happy during the holidays? What would
Well,
you say to someone, that feel like, oh, it's nothing?
I just have to break it down. Depends on the source. And happiness is not a requirement for being lonely. It's not a requirement. And so if you don't owe anyone a performance, you your emotion don't make you less spiritual or less stronger. Your emotion can control your whole life and well-being.
Mhm.
So God meet you where you are, not where people expect you to be. You must believe in the creator of all things. Because if you got faith, hope, and trust in your life right now,
Mhm.
look, God is not sleep. He never sleep. He know your understanding. He know what you're going through with, and he know what your desires are. And so, but let me ask you a question.
I
Because
think that's powerful what you just said, though.
yeah,
God meets you where you are,
yep,
not where people expect you to be. That
mhm,
is very powerful
yeah,
because a lot of people want you to be somewhere that God wants you to be somewhere else. And
that's
sometimes people go to where people expect them to be instead of listening to God.
so you saying people follow the worldly way instead of the God way. In other
Sometimes,
words, do you
mhm.
think people know right from wrong, or just because people were raised up in the church and they choose to go to the left instead of the right? So how how do you get back on track? I mean,
I think
you
you got to pray because sometimes, that's the devil taking over saying, I want you to go to the left,
yep, you're
you know,
absolutely
and you're following the people that he wants you to follow.
mhm.
But God meets you where you are.
That is definitely absolutely because these kind of things. And I appreciate we talking about these things because it's people's out there. Um, it's difficult time for them, and they need to be inspired. They need to be give that confidence. And
Mhm.
what you and I talking about, it's the people that's out here is going to hear this and say, "Man, I can verify that." And so this is what caring and sharing is all about.
Right.
Sharing your testimonies, being able to uh, help someone else grow through their pain and suffering.
Mhm.
But I do have a very important question that I want to ask you. How can someone find peace with themselves when they feel overwhelmed? In other words, I just got too much going on. I can't find peace.
I feel overwhelmed all the time, and I call people, and um, peace begins with acceptance. You got to accept yourself. Not that don't mean you accept the situation,
Right.
but you got to be acceptance of yourself or where you're at. So you got to do things that's going to help you stop comparing yourself to others. Um, be kind to yourself. Sometimes people we just tend to beat ourselves up.
That's true.
Uh, some days, um, you feel strong, and some days you feel fragile. And I've been in both places, and I feel both are okay. It's okay to express how you feel. If you feel overwhelmed, just take time to stop and what you're doing and breathe and find peace, you know. Try to find something good, you know, because you know, some people get overwhelmed by the little things, and you know, I've been there, done that. So
Right. And you found a way how to minimize and how to deal with that situation.
I tend to sometimes overthink things, and when you overthink things, you can become overwhelmed.
Mhm. But I myself, some of the things you just said kind of touched me because you know what? I'm learning because even I might be in denial, but that hit right on point. Some of the things that you just, and that's one thing about men. Sometimes our ego,
I
sometimes
appreciate you being transparent though, because a lot of men don't want to go through that flow, you know.
that's
They
true. And I
they
think
want to say what they want to say, but they hold it in because they're so proud, you know.
mhm, that's definitely true. And so that's just one of them ego type of thing. And
Okay,
uh,
well, let me ask you this.
yes,
What role does the community play in overcoming the holiday depression? What would you say?
well, I think community doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. In other words, sometimes people talk loud and say nothing. So, and then you got to be real with your. If it got to be one friend or 100 friends,
Mm-hmm.
okay, one church member, one support group, connected is medicine, and sometimes the courage to say I need help is
Mm-hmm.
the first step toward. Some people are denying. They would have this. No, I don't need no help. I can do it by myself, and especially us men. Go to the doctor, boy. No, I ain't nothing wrong with me. I just rather just it ain't but a head cold. We have I don't know what causes that and what we discussing right now, and I hope that it touch many men out there. Not only everyone going through, especially and Sheila, let me ask you this.
Well,
How,
let me say this.
wait, sorry about that.
I think the words "I need help" are the hardest things to say sometimes.
You're right. That is
When
absolutely
we're going through things, sometimes we want to be private, and we don't want nobody to know what's going on. But those words, "I need help," for me sometimes have been very hard.
mhm.
But you know, you got to swallow your pride sometimes, and if you really need help, you need help.
That's true. That's true. And that's one of the things that, I don't know whether that was inherited or just a generational thing, but refusing help when you know that you need help, it can be just as deadly as any type of disease.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, it's going to overtake you because
Mm-hmm.
you allow your emotion to stay in instead of
Mm-hmm.
letting it out. And I believe that a lot of times women live longer than men because they express their emotion all the time. Well, men, well, you you a man, boy. Keep it inside. And
But
so,
men be sometimes saying, "Oh, you're too emotional."
right,
That's
right.
what women are emotional, you know. And sometimes people take it out against us, you know. So some people don't like that, but you know, you're like, why are you so emotional? Oh, I'm a woman,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know. Women get emotional.
you know how they skill coming. Oh, you just sitting up there acting up. But I'm glad that we discussing this, bring a little joy and happiness because this is going to hit someone out there, and you're going to say, "Man, thank you for bringing this in." And my question to you now: how can someone support a loved one who's seen withdrawal during the holiday? They just just feel withdrawal. I don't. Nobody
You know,
love me.
I know sometimes people don't want to be bothered with people, but I say be present. Sometimes you don't have to say a word, but just being there with them. Show up,
Hmm.
check on them, call them, ask them questions, not no yes or no closed end questions.
Hmm.
You know, what are you doing today? You know, how you feeling? Offer presence, you know, not pressure, because that'll make a person back off.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes the most healing words, what people want to hear from you is like, I'm here for you.
Yes. I totally agree.
I'm here. If you need to talk, I want you to always know that I'm here to listen. You have to be a good, effective listener to hear what they're saying. And sometimes you can get those nonverbal cues and stuff, and you can kind of feel what they feel. So it's different approach sometimes for different people. But when you show up and let somebody know that you're there, I think that means a lot.
I think, like visiting a nursing home, visiting those people that are unable to help themselves. I mean, you bring them strength, but just, hey, Doug, I'm going to the veterans home. I'm going to the nursing home. I'm going to the place where people are unable. That little encouragement by going there and seeing them, give them strength, give them hope. And I used to go, and I'm gonna start back going because right now we're not alone. They got people they wish they had what we have, but they're unable to have it because of whatever medical reason. So I believe that whatever your mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve it if you learn to share your emotion. Now is the time, not tomorrow, because you think about the day Christmas here. Some people gonna be lonely. They're gonna be just feel like they've been isolated. And so
Yes, and I agree because I've been to the veterans home and hospital, and some of the people there don't even have family members that show up to visit them, and then you can see the brightness
right.
in there, and they just want to be around you and talk to you and tell you stories when you come around. So it makes that person feel good, and it makes
Yes.
you feel good too, just by being present.
Uh,
You know?
you know, that reflect back on when I was running the ROTC. We used to go to the soldiers' home. And just like you said, I took my ROTC up there and the kids performed. That was the best thing that happened to those people because they don't get any entertainment. And so we inspired them. In other words,
Mhm.
we gave them what they wanted and we got what we wanted to come up there and to be
Yes,
with them.
that's good. Let me ask you something though. What kind of encouragement would you give to someone who feels alone right now? What would you say to them now if you
I,
had the opportunity to say something to everybody now?
I want to say, look, believe in God. Believe that God can make a way out of no way. Even though we all going to fall short of glory, but your faith is your strength because you got to believe that God sees everything. Look,